Hello, Flustew. Welcome to Snickerdoodle Stitch. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. If you're returning, thanks so much for visiting again, and if you're new, welcome. I appreciate you all spending some time with me today. So, I didn't think I was going to have too much stitching to show, but I actually got a lot done, and I'm not sure how because I was in California for work, so, you know, all day travel out and all day travel back to cross the country, and I was there for a work week, and then I stayed through the weekend and went and stayed in Hollywood and did some of the very touristy things there. So I had a lot of fun with that. Went and did one of the open band tours that drives around Hollywood Hills and Beverly Hills and Bel Air, and they point out different celebrity houses, and a little techie but a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm back from that and back to work and working this weekend, so it's pretty busy. And then next weekend I'm going with some of my quilting friends to what we call our hand stitch weekend, and I will get some cross stitch done then, I hope, but I do have a quilt that I've got the binding sewn on, but I need to, you know, flip it around and do all the hand sewing on the back. So I'm hoping to get a quilt bound. It's a winter one. It's one I showed last year that I had finished piecing the top, but I just had it long armed a month or two ago, and now it'll soon be time to take the pumpkins down after a few weeks, and then I want to put this one that has snowflakes on it up for the rest of winter. So that's my immediate plans. Today I've got a bunch of stitching to show. I've got a couple starts. I have 2 FFOs, and I have started thinking about 2026 plans. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. What I would call would be a few of my focus pieces for next year. I really liked this year. I had 2 pieces, big pieces in particular. The Modern Folk Embroidery, Put a Bird on It, which I have FFO'd to show, and my Toledo to Toledo. And by just doing a little bit on them every 2 weeks, making sure I had my couple days in on those, I managed to get both of those finished. So I've got some other large pieces that I would like to do the same thing with next year, although I originally had one set of plans and that's changed a little bit. So I'll share a little more about that at the end. I'll start with my FFOs. Speaking of the Modern Folk Embroidery, I did frame it, and yes, the glass has a glare. Where I'm going to hang it is in my family room, which doesn't get any direct sun. Because I mostly only use that room in the evenings, I tend to just keep the shades closed all the time. I don't like people being able to see in the evening. Not that there's anything behind me other than a hill and some woods. But you know, if anybody came through the backyard or anything, I just don't want, it creeps me out to think of somebody like looking in from out in the dark where I can't see them, but they can see me in the lit room. So those blinds are almost always closed, so nothing's really gonna pick up a glare in there. I did decide on just a plain black frame, very simple. I tried out several different frames. I actually took the piece into Michael's and put a bunch of trims up on it. I wasn't against having it professionally framed, but in the end, what I like the best with it, that will also go with that room and the furniture and pieces that I have in there, black ended up being the best choice. So I already had a black frame that was the perfect size, and that's what I went with. So it is fully finished. I do need to get some wire on the back, and then it's ready to hang. I got another picture, just a framed print that will come down, and this will go up. And a little more on this one when I get to my plans for next year. So they've announced the next Sal. This was a stitch along that EJ from Sunshine Stitchers hosted last year and this year. They were both Quakers, which I love. So I'll share what next year's is, what next year's, it starts in December, is that she's hosting and what my plans are for that. And then I have some plans to make a companion piece for this. So more to come on that. Did I say this is Modern Folk Embroidery? Put a bird on it. And it is on 32 count Lugana, which I dyed myself. I had to think if it was 32 or 28. It's 32. Actually, I lied. It's 28, but I think when I dyed it, I shrunk it a little bit, so it was coming out closer to 30. And it fits in this frame, which is a little bigger than 15 by 15. So that's my first FFO. My second one, you can't get this pattern yet. It was a freebie that was given to us at Stitching in the Wild. But it's from Hands On Design. It was called Hallo-wreath. And I'm pretty sure she'll release it for Halloween next year. I know with like Jingle Ball, the things that she had that were exclusive there typically come out the next year. And that seems to be the pattern with Hands On Design. So I suspect this will come out next year. I had planned on finishing this differently and then got the idea, you know what, I think I just want to put it in a hoop. Then I thought I would paint the hoop black. I ordered a package of hoops. I'll share that. These were under $10. It's a whole pack of mixed sizes from Amazon. They are bamboo hoops, so they're a little smoother, and the edges are a little more rounded. They're just more polished looking than the like pine or balsa. I don't know what they're made out of. Ones that you can pick up in Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and buying them in the big pack. They were super cheap. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 sizes, 4 of each. Oh, you know what? This might have been more like $15. I did end up going with the bigger package. I remember now because I decided to get the mixed sizes and just have them on hand for finishing. So picked those up on Amazon. But that's my finished piece. The pattern did have, and Gary and Ronnie were selling the little finishing with the polka dot ribbon and the little Frankenstein pin from what's the name of the pin company? Just Pins? I think that's it. They didn't have it on, they just had it carded with the ribbon, so it didn't have the pin maker on it. But so it's all the called for. It was all DMC. I did it on 16 count chalkboard Ada. My original plan was to finish this as like an ornament, a flat fold kind of thing. Ada can be, because it's stiff, it can be bumpy around the edge when you gather it. And so that was part of why I decided, you know what, maybe I'll just do a hoop for it. So that's what I did, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. I started to say I did plan on painting the hoop black, and then when I was just testing out the sizes and popped it in there, I thought, you know what, I think I'm just going to go with the natural. Did many hoop finishes like this back in the 80s, although then we also glued on ruffles. I did just pop, there's a piece of black, it's actually just really heavy cardstock for my card making stuff. I just popped that in the back to make it a little more polished. So that was my other FFO that I got done. Not in time to use it for this year, but that's okay. I had plenty of stuff to use for this year. All right. My next, all right, I don't have all my new starts up front here in my stuff to show. I'm a little out of order, but that's okay. This next one is Tiny Modernist Autumn Night Garden, and I bought this pattern when I was at Stitch North back in May and kitted it up. And when I was saying last week that I needed to look for some more autumn things Then when I started digging through all of my projects and things I had kitted up and patterns, and I realized, I was like, oh, that has autumny kind of colors. And then I realized, oh, it is called Autumn Night Garden, goofball. I was not using the called for this. I did fully kit this up when I was at Stitch North, like I said. And so I had just bought some of the, I wanted an excuse to buy some Roxy Flosco. Let's be clear. I love her flosses. The colors are just so saturated. They're not terribly variegated. Some of them are a little bit more than others, but they're very vibrant, saturated colors that she has. So this is a few less flosses than what the pattern calls for, because there is some variegation in these, so I'm going to get the same effect using variegated floss and a few less flosses. Like I think there was one more yellowy orange, and I've already got 3 here. So this was my start on it. This was on Roxy Flosco 32 count Night Owl is the name of the fabric, and it's coming through pretty true. It's maybe a skosh darker than what it looks like. Normally I would cut my fabric down so that I'm dealing with the least fabric as possible while I'm stitching. This one and another one that I worked on this time, I did leave the whole fat quarter intact because I want to use as little of the fabric as possible. And I would have to cut it farther over to accommodate my Q-snap than what I actually will need to accommodate framing. So I'm just dealing with the extra fabric. I'm right-handed. I put this piece in the upper right-hand corner so that when I'm stitching right side up, all the extra fabric is over here to the left, and it's not in my way then when I'm stitching, and I don't have to bunch it up or do anything like that. But I got an okay start on this. I started this before I went to California, and I only had like a night and a half. I was packing and things like that. But I got done the moons, and then I've started on this double line that goes around. It's a little fiddly. There's a lot of color changes, even with the fewer colors that I've picked out. And then I did get in all these single stitches in here. I will confess, yeah, I carried the thread. I'm not doing all those as pin stitches. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. There's 2 reasons we don't carry thread. One is because if you're using, like back in the day when your fabric was always white or cream colored, any dark thread was going to show through. Even the modern folk embroidery, I wouldn't carry the thread on that at all because it was dark enough blue on light enough fabric that it would show through. And the other reason for the old rule of not carrying your thread, you know, when young girls were learning to stitch, they weren't stitching for decorative pieces like we are, that you would hang on a wall necessarily. That was the way they were learning to stitch on things like clothing and table linens and more functional items, but items where you could potentially only see the back. And the way we finish our pieces today, nobody's going to ever see that back. Nobody but me is going to know that that thread was carried. Well, if you know, because I told you. And this light thread in no way is ever going to show through this dark mottled fabric. So for anyone stuck on the rule of don't carry your thread, get over it. Basically, it doesn't hurt a thing. My stitches will look neater with the thread carried than if I did every one of those as a pin stitch. You know, pin stitches, you still only have that one stitch to secure on the ending thread on the back, and yeah, carrying the thread actually will give you a neater look. So that's my 2 cents. So that was my next piece I worked on. let's see, I can put this thread over there too. I had another start before I left. Let me remember where it's at here. And I can go ahead and show it. Yeah, here it is. This is Pansy Patch Quilts Honey Bee Sampler. And it's not for me for fall. I originally bought it thinking I would do it for something, either for me or maybe for my dad who raised honeybees for years. And I had given my dad a quilt that has bee fabric in the quilt. Like some of the fabric in there actually has little tiny bees on it. And he and his new wife have put that in what would be like the guest bedroom now, and she's kind of done a whole bee theme around it. And she has a cross-stitched cat hanging on the wall, and she jokingly said to me, "Do you have something with bees on it?" So I want to get this done to give to them. And it was kind of fall colors. It was the right mood for what I was stitching on. Now I just have to get it done. I made pretty good progress on it. This is on 32 count Atomic Ranch Weathered Stone, and you're gonna see I've got another piece on Weathered Stone. It is one of my favorite neutrals. And I bought a lot of it. In 28 count, it looks pinker. Pinkier? Pinky. It looks more pinkish. In 32 count, it tends to have more of a gray cast to it. So I first had it in 28 count. I did something on it when I very first got back into stitching. And then I wanted more because I liked that slate pink cast. And I kept buying it through the, online. And it kept coming in looking more green. I have now seen it at trunk shows. And I now know that the 28 count just reads a little differently than the 32 or 36. So I have a lot of 32. And so I've got it on a couple pieces that I worked on this time. But I made pretty good progress with this. It is stitched with a silk. I can't remember the name of the silk. It's a belle soie. Where is it, Gloriana? I will have to get the floss color for next time I show it. I don't have it written down either. A lot of times I'll put it on my library card with the fabric if I'm using something other than the called for floss. It calls for a Roxy Floss Co. I did not buy this at Stitch North though. I bought it, I think I bought it down in Alexandria last winter. So Roxy Floss Co. wasn't an option since you can only get that from Everton. I mean, I could have mail ordered it, but I bought the floss that day. So it is the silk. It's going pretty fast. This was not a lot of night's work because, again, I wasn't home a lot during the last 2 weeks. But I got that top band done and then started on this alphabet here. So not a lot of progress, but this is how wide it will be, and it is essentially square. So it's not a terribly big, I mean, it's going to come down to about here. It's not a terribly big piece. So I'm happy with the start on it anyway. Let me hold it up closer so you can see the stitches. Sorry, maybe that's better. The color always blows out when I hold things up close. That one's a lot of fun to stitch on though. It's very relaxing. Since I did show that, I'll go out of order. This is also Weathered Stone, 32 count. It's from a different purchase of it. This is Serenita di Campagna, and it's CV160. This is the pattern. I started this last year, and had a lot of it done last year. I had all of this done, and I had a couple leaves down here done. So what I did this time was all the leaves coming up this way in this tree, and I've started over, oh, these berries were a bit of a pain in the neck, and this leaf. So all I have left to do are some leaves here, the tree. There's some little back stitching for each of these little shrubs. And then there is some more of this white, like Queen Anne's lace looking thing that scatters in. Some of it started here. There's some that get scattered in around there. So I'm still optimistic. Last year when I put this away, I remember thinking, oh, I can finish this next year. Because last year I got the whole little barns and all of that done. So I'm still optimistic I can get this done this year. I've got a little less than 2 weeks till Thanksgiving. The thing is, when we get past Thanksgiving, I'll be ready to roll into Christmas stitching. But I have a feeling that if I'm not finished this, I will be close enough to finish on this that I will work on this Thanksgiving weekend to get it done. But loving the way it's coming out. It's really sweet. So I'm anxious to finish that and have one of my larger autumn pieces that I was on a mission to find patterns for. All right, I'm just going to stick with autumn, and then I've got a couple things that I stitched on that were not autumn. This one was Rosewood Manor Autumn Quakers. And I am stitching this with all the called for, so it's 28 count Picture This plus doubloon and the Valdani threads, which you use right off the spool. And here's my piece. This thing's going to take me forever. This is going to have to become a focus piece at some point, but it's not going to this year. What I got done were the birds and this, this too. And then this with the acorn. So this kind of chunk is what I worked on. I had a tiny bit of this left to finish. And then it's all this stuff. Love the way the Valdanis look. Again, it's another floss that just has very rich colors. The variegation's beautiful. They lay nicely. They do feel heavy dragging through the fabric when you stitch. I mean, it's the equivalent of 3 strands of DMC, which is more than most of us use on 28 count. So it does feel a little different. Certainly doesn't glide through like butter like silks do, but the coverage and the variegation is just gorgeous. So enjoying that one. I do want to get some more stitched on this, but it's... I must have started stitching fall earlier last year. Well, I wasn't gone for 2 weeks too, or a week and a half. That's my problem this year. I was gone a week and almost a week and a half, and now I'll be gone 3 days next weekend. And I work this weekend, so I'm missing a lot of days of stitching this November compared to last November. I was like, I didn't get so much done on that last year, and this year I've got that one little piddly section. All right. While I was traveling, I took 2 things with me. The first thing I took for my plain stitching, since it's a 6-hour flight, it's 6 hours out and it's 5 hours back. And coming back ended up being a circus. I traveled back last Sunday, so they had already announced that airports were cutting back flights because of limited air traffic controllers, since they were working without pay at that point. Or without being paid. I guess they will get paid, but my flight left on time. So I was like, sweet, we're golden. I'm going to get home at 8 p.m. when I expected. We started our descent into Philly, and the pilot came on and said, Philly has said we don't have clearance to land, but we don't have enough fuel to circle around. So we are going to Baltimore to land to fuel, and then we'll head back to Philly. We start that way, and then you notice on the map that it's now saying IAD, which is not Baltimore, it's Dulles out of DC. So he comes on and says, I'm hearing that some of you have noticed. Baltimore won't give us clearance to land, so we're going to DC to get gas. So we landed in DC. He came on and said, we still don't have any clearance to fly into Philly. If there's anybody who wants to get off here, you can. For me, that didn't make sense. I would have to drive from DC past my home to go to Philly to pick up my car. It was a 3-hour drive from there to Philly. I'm like, no, I think it's worth it for me to just stay here. Luckily, we weren't there. We sat there at Dulles for like an hour. And then he came on and said Philly had given us clearance to land and he had found out what was happening. It was weather, and because of limited air traffic controllers, they had already shut down to 2 runways, and then weather was causing additional problems and they were down to 1 runway. So they just didn't have enough runways for all the planes that would have been coming in the evening. So we didn't get into Philly till like midnight. So I had more than 5 hours to stitch on my way back. But what I took to stitch on in the plane was Starstruck from Carolyn Manning. I'm sorry, it's not looking too bad on camera. This print that I printed out on my printer of the PDF has gotten very rumpled because this pattern's gone a few trips with me. These Carolyn Mannings, especially, I'm doing it on 16 or 18 count Ada. I think 16. They're great travel pieces for a couple reasons. One, it's easy to grab one color and, you know, like I'll show you, I did everything that was gray. So I only had to drag one color out from my floss string. I'm not juggling all kinds of my floss away bags or things like that. And then on the Ada low light, it's repetitious counting, so you do get in a rhythm with that. There's another method. Candy has done a Carolyn Manning, or more than one, I think. And she would do like her outlines. So see how it's essentially 4 corners with the square in the middle. The 4 corners aren't always the same color, but she did her outlines when she had time to focus. And then when she was retreating or whatever, where she knew she wasn't going to have as much focus, she just came in and filled the squares in. So I tend to go as far as I can without moving the Q-snap in one color. A lot of what I don't have done will be this 3865 that's really, you know, a creamy white. You can hardly even tell it's on there. It's that close to white. And I will probably put most of the 3865 off till very last thing I do on this, just because this is a travel piece for me. So my hands aren't always as clean as normally. I obsessively wash my hands before I start stitching. And if I do anything, like get up and do anything, then I wash my hands before I go back to stitching. You obviously can't do that traveling, you know. So I don't want that 3865 to get grubby in here anywhere. But loving the way this is coming out. I will put a picture in here that I think I've done a little bit of stitching before this trip and since that picture, but not a lot. The picture is about where I was at. I got a lot done, a lot more than I expected to get done on this trip. Honestly, I thought I was going to fall asleep on the plane going out because it was early morning. I had to get up at 4 to get to the airport, and I didn't sleep on the plane at all going out. I did a little bit coming back, but we had the extended tour version of our flight, so So that's where this is at. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to. Oh, and then the funny thing, when I was stitching on it going out, I was on the aisle seat. I got lucky, and there was nobody in the middle seat, and then there was a gentleman by the window, and I hadn't been stitching on it long, and he's like, "Excuse me, would you mind? Could I take a picture of that?" And I'm like, "Sure." Well, then he explained he's been looking for a pattern for tile for like his patio, I think the floor. I don't. He then showed me pictures of the outside of his house, and he was obviously from California, somewhere more deserty, and so there was a lot of tile things happening. And he's like, "I've been looking for a pattern for my tile and haven't been able to find one, and that morning store is kind of what I've been trying to find to give a picture to the tile guy." So he took a picture of this for his tile guy. All right, these last two I have are Christmas ones. It started for two different reasons. This one, if I can get it out of here, I took the Carolyn Manning for my airport stitching, but I had a feeling I was going to get bored with that. And so I also took a Satsuma Street, a Mary Pear, and my plan was to stitch on this in the hotel room, not while I was on the business portion of my trip, because I really didn't think I was going to have any time to stitch then. But I had the weekend in Hollywood, and I knew I would just hang in my room like after dinner, because I had a lot of sightseeing to do, and I knew I was going to be tired by then, and I would just want to veg. So I did start on this. I didn't get it finished, but I made pretty good progress. They'll be cuter once they have eyes, but the eyes are beads, so I would have put them in next so they don't look so like kind of freaky, but they're beads. All I have left to do is his black belt and boots. She's got some black boots, and then there's red that needs to get stitched in here and here, and then there's some beads that go on. So I don't know, I may just take this for hand stitch weekend along with the quilt that I need to bind, so that I could just finish this and it would be done. I don't need any magnifiers, special lights, anything like that. And when we do the hand stitch weekend, it's not like a retreat house. It's not somewhere that's designed for people to be stitching. So lighting can sometimes be dicey. I may actually haul along one of my lighter bright lights, like not like my Halo Go, because I'm more likely to be in a chair, like on a sofa kind of thing, and not have anywhere to put that. Sometimes it will work to just prop it on the back of the sofa. I do that often at hotel rooms, just plug it in and have it shining down from here on the back of the sofa. I'm short enough that it will still shine over me and light up my work, but that may or may not work at the Airbnb is what we're staying at. So I may take this because I can do it with mediocre light. I mean, there's got to be some light, but I don't have that bright light like this next one would require. I don't have a picture of this pattern in here. I'm getting ready for Jingle Ball, and I signed up for 2 classes. One is the Stacy Nash, the little mouse, and I am curious to see her finishing. I have sewn and finished some of those though, so I really wanted the pattern. But I thought the class with her would be fun too. I don't know if I've ever seen Stacy Nash like on FlossTube or in anything, so I don't really know what she's like, who she is. So that'll be fun to take that class. And then the other class was Annie B's Pears, and that I do want to see the assembly. And so I wanted to get one done, at least one. The pattern has, it says there's 3, but then there's a freebie. So there's one that's not pictured on the cover. So she gives you 4 patterns for the pair. This one will say Noel. I'm about halfway done. I want to get this finished before I go on my hand stitch weekend so that I know I have this ready for Jingle Ball. Although Jingle Ball's not till the week after Thanksgiving. I don't know why I'm feeling like I have less weekends than I do to get ready for this. Maybe I will get all 3 of them done. On the pattern, it's stitched on red. I would have loved red fabric. I love the red they used. And I think they recommended Aztec red as an alternative that might be easier to find than what had been used in the model. But it's stitched in 36 count, and I wanted to stick with 36 count because the pattern has the pear template in it. I don't want to try doing the stupid, no, it's got to be enlarged this much, it's got to be, no, enlarge it a couple degrees more, nope, a little bit more, or percent more, nope, a little bit more to get it to the right size. I just wanted to have it, I didn't want to have to fool with that. Plus 36, I've seen these stitched, they're probably, well, they're about 4.5 inches finished, I think, with the stem, maybe even closer to 5, and I don't want them bigger than that. So when I dug through my 36 count stash, I didn't have any red. But I did have this green. And I am trying really hard to not buy fabric, although I'm going to show you one fabric that I did buy through the mail recently, and use what I have in stash. And I was like, that green is perfect. Mine are going to be green. And I've had this fabric. I ordered it online, and then I didn't love it. It's really strong modeling for me. Like something big like this to put, it's more modeled than what my preference is. But a little piece of it, the modeling doesn't look quite as extreme, especially, you know, some of this is going to get cut off. It's, if I get my finger to go the right direction, it's going to get cut in the pear shape. So I'm going to do them all in this, and then I'll see what's left of this fabric. But I like the dark green. This was one of the fabrics I bought before I learned my lesson, that unless it's a very pale color like that weathered stone that I showed on my first couple pieces, if it's a bright colored piece, unless it's a dyer that I know very well and I've seen the fabric before, I don't buy fabric online. What things look like on camera aren't what they look like in person. And you don't know what that piece looks like. You know, some dyers, one piece can be very little modeling and the next one can be really strong modeling. Some dyers are very consistent with their modeling. This is Atomic Ranch Ivy. It's beautiful fabric. I'm not saying the fabric's not beautiful. It's just, there's more happening on it than what I generally prefer. Except for some like that. It'll work great for that. All right, where are we at on time? I want to talk a little bit about plans. So we looked at the Modern Folk Embroidery, put a bird on it that I had FFO'd. And I had bought silk floss for that. And I bought way too much. It told me how much to buy, and I bought the amount that it said. And I have a feeling it's because I'll stitch a line going this way and then back instead of a full X at a time. And stitching this way uses a lot less thread. I think that may be part of it. But I had used these 2 flosses for it. And you can see I've got a good deal of this left. And I started thinking, well, maybe I want to stitch something with those same blue flosses. That wall right now over my sofa, I have 2 framed things hanging there, prints. And if I replace one with that, wouldn't it be nice to have something to just replace the other one with? And I had bought this pattern, and I was digging, I think I bought it at, well, it's from Silver Needles, so I bought it at Galleria. It came out at the August release. It's Jan Hicks Creates Blue Velvet. And it calls for 4 blues. And so what my plan is this pattern, and I have a darker and a lighter blue. And I'm just gonna do it on white to have it as a companion piece to that one. It's not exactly the same style, but it is a little Quakerish. There's some flourishy things in there too, but so that's my plan, to use the rest of my floss. I've got some other stuff happening in this. I was pulling out a bunch of blues, trying to decide which ones to use. So I've got options. I also have a piece of white Jobelin and a piece of white Lugana in here. One is more white looking. See, the Jobelin is more of an antique white. So I've got to decide which, if I want the snowy white Lugana or the antique white Jobelin. And whatever day I was working on pulling this together, I didn't feel like making that decision that day. So this may be a focus piece for next year, so that I have the companion piece for that. Not as a companion piece for that, but because that was EJ from Sunshine Stitchers, it was her stitch along for last year. The stitch along for this year is going to be Works by ABC Elegant Lace. This is the pattern. And Arlene has a line of these. This is Exquisite Lace. So when I saw on Facebook that it was going to be Elegant Lace, I got all excited and went, oh, I think I already have that pattern. I had Exquisite Lace. So I pulled it out and I thought, well, I'm just going to stitch Exquisite Lace. I'll stitch along, but I'll do my own lace thing. Then when I was down in Baltimore and DC a couple weeks ago, one of the shops I was in, they had Elegant Lace, and the pattern was only $8.50. So I was like, all right, I'll buy the Elegant Lace and do the Elegant Lace. So I've started pulling. This will start December 14th, I think. And I had a couple thoughts for fabric. This is, she recommended 36 count, and I'll get to why with the floss in a second here. So I was digging through my 36 counts. Again, the bulk of my stash is 32 count. I do have some 36, I have some 28, but 32 is my sweet spot. So it's what I have the most of. So in my 36 count, I do have Christmas Night. I know I bought this in 36 count because I thought if I did Christmas ornaments, I like the higher count because I like my ornaments to be little. So this was one possibility, but I'm actually leaning toward, that was Atomic Ranch Christmas Night. I'm actually leaning toward, where's the tag? Oh dear. It's a, I'm pretty sure this is a Roxy Floss Co. And I've lost the tag off of it. It is just a gray. But I am leaning towards this one. I think I like the idea of the very, kind of classy white on gray. So I'm leaning toward this. She recommends 36 count because she uses floche. So DMC floche. I ordered some on Etsy. I have not found it anywhere else. I haven't found none of my local shops. Well, none of the 3 down Baltimore, DC had it. I haven't looked at the ones up north. I looked on, some of the bigger websites. I looked at Garon, I looked at 123 Stitch. Nobody had floche, but I got in on Etsy. So floche comes like this. It's a big, it's like 100 some yards. 100, does it say? It said on the Etsy shop. It's the equivalent of a lot of skeins. 120 yards maybe? Doesn't say. It says how many grams it is. It's over 100 yards. But it's a single strand. It's thicker. So one strand of this, let me just pull a piece. So you can tell on camera. That's one strand. It's the equivalent roughly of 2 strands of DMC. So on 36 count, what she did, part of how she said she achieved the lace, where it's really thick and white looking, she's used the 1 strand of floche. Where it's more sheer looking, like in here, she has used 1 strand of DMC and it's just the 10 stitch. It's not a full cross. So when you start realizing that a big chunk of this is 10 stitches, this is really not that big of a piece. It's under 10,000. Oh no, wait. Okay, it's about 20,000 stitches. Let's see. On 36, it'll be 9.4 by 9.4. So smaller than 10 by 10. All done. But the floche feels really nice. I'm excited to work with it. I had debated using it for the for this to give me better coverage. This is Dinky Dye Natural Silk, which is covering it fine. But because that's 36 count, I had debated using this to see would it really pop. But I'll be honest, I was sitting in my chair ready to start stitching, and this was in here at the other end of the house for me to not forget to show you, and so I didn't feel like getting up to come get it, so I did stitch that with the Dinky Dyes. So I've got the Jan Hicks for focus piece. This will be a focus piece because it's a stitch along, and I will do my best to keep up with it. I have the Cornwall Cottage sampler from Rosewood that I made really good progress on this year, and I do want that to still be a focus piece, and I really want to finish that next year. And then when I was thinking about using those flosses from the Modern Folk Embroidery, I also have a ton of floss left from my Toledo to Toledo. There's another gold in here, but it's DMC. I've got some of it left too. So these were the colors for Toledo to Toledo. And I was trying to think, well, maybe I should do something with those leftover flosses. I'll have a companion piece for it too. And I found when I dug through Stash that I have Conundrum, which is the one from Rosewood Manor, where she's really encouraging you to, pick your own colors. She does have different symbols in here, so it's charted for 5 colors. The Toledo to Toledo had 7, but 2 were greens that were pretty close. It would be easy to pare it down to 5, or to just make one of these symbols be 2 different colors, depending on where it was. So that's my plan for my, she tells you how many skeins you need of each color. She's so good about that always. Karen Kluba. So she tells you how many skeins of each color you need for each symbol, and I can convert. I'll figure out how many skeins I have left of each, and that may drive what becomes what symbol on here. But it's designed, or it's charted, to do as 5 different symbols or as a single color. You can kind of see there's a dark color, there's a light gray, there's that red color on there. You can kind of see what the different symbols, or what would be different symbols. So excited to work on that. The more I think about it, this one might be something that I work on, but isn't a focus piece, because I'm going to have the Cornwall Cottage. I do want the Modern Folk Embroidery to be a focus piece, honestly, because that's going to look goofy hanging on the wall with the print that I would leave hanging up. And then the Elegant Lace for the stitch along. Those 3, Cornwall Cottage, Elegant Lace, and the Jan Hicks, that might be enough focus pieces. I got a lot of other things to stitch on. Oh shoot, I've got some shopping. Every time I think these are going to be short, I don't know what happens. They end up not being. I was excited. I was at a thrift shop, and they had this package of Leisure Arts perforated paper. It is 12 sheets, and I paid $2 for it. Kind of a funky color, but I can cover that with a archival ink pad. But yeah, I was quite excited with that. That was one of my thrift store finds. And then this was a Target. You know that spot up near the front that they have in Target? I'm almost never in Target. My Target is a mess. They're out of everything all the time. I don't know what is going on with that Target. I'm in them, you know, when I'm traveling and I realize I forgot deodorant or whatever, and I'll run in Target, and nobody else's Target looks like this. And this one is like a dumpster fire, and it's new. It's new, but it's not so new that that's what's causing the problem. It's like 2 years old. But anyway, in that spot up near the front that used to be the dollar spot, but it's all different prices now, they have these really cute little suede boxes. They're like sueded inside too. And I thought, how cute would that be for finishing? It was in with their autumn stuff, so they may not still have them, but this blue would be really pretty with some kind of fall leaf thing on it. So picked that up in Target. And then this I know you can all pick up. It was in Michael's. They have a whole end cap of Christmas kits from Loops and Threads, which is like their brand. But they had crochet, they had cross stitch kits, they had punch needle, embroidery maybe. There were like 4 or 5 different, but I picked up one of the cross stitch kits. How stinking cute is that? And I used a coupon, so it ended up being like $5. But yeah, that was just a Michael's find. It's got Ada and all the floss in there. I don't know if I'll do it on the Ada. It would be really cute on a much darker color, and then maybe you wouldn't have to do all that back stitch around the cat, although that does make the cat look furry. I should just do it as kitted, and then this is a grab and go project. My other plan for next year, I think New Year's weekend, which isn't really a weekend. New Year's is middle of the week. What day of the week is it? I can't see that far on the calendar. It's like a Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. I've got the Our Lady of the Flag, and I think I'm going to start at New Year's Day. I have been through, there's a Facebook site that Crafty Chick Stephanie pointed out to me. It's Mirabilia Lady of the Flag, and it's people posting their color conversions, their progress, their finishes. It's all about Our Lady of the Flag. And there are some really cool color conversions. And I have debated like the original and 2 color conversions ever since I won the pattern a month and a half ago. And I think I've settled on just doing the original. Partly because I went through the fabric that I already have. And again, I'm trying to not buy fabric. Because, oh good, I did have a note. Yeah, I'm trying to not buy fabric. And then when I looked at some of the conversions, some of them were mixing Anchor and DMC. I'm not a huge fan of Anchor floss, and I don't have Anchor floss in stock, and I don't in stash, and I don't even know if Michael still carries it. They were carrying it, but I don't think they have it anymore. And then when I started thinking about, okay, if I did it in this converted colorway, what fabric would I do it on? Then I would get stuck on that. And so I've decided to just do the traditional. She's very, her dress is gold tones. So she's all golds. I'm keeping her in the cardboard mailer envelope that Gary and Ronnie had her in so that she doesn't get dinged or crumpled or anything. So she's all gold tones. I've got her all kitted up. I was able to get all of the beads, and I showed you all, I don't know, an episode or 2 ago that I had gotten the Krynic, and I think I'm going to do her on this Atomic Ranch plate denim. The gold contrasts nicely with this blue. Yeah, I think this is what I've settled on. I looked at lots of other finished ones to decide, did I like the lighter blue, the darker blue, more gray, and this is what I have settled on. I also have this jumbo piece of it. I've marked what will need to be the bottom here. That's what that is. That's what I was just excited about, because when I looked at this last night, I was like, oh, I marked some start, but I don't know what the start was, but I do have a piece of paper in here, bottom marked. So when I was checking to make sure this fabric was going to be big and generous enough, I went ahead and marked what the start would be. So I'm going to start on the bottom with her. Yeah, it was the easiest spot to start on the bottom middle for her. So I'll start down there. So that's my blue. So I want to start this New Year's Day. I have a Mirabilia Santa, Santa's Magic. It's a Santa that's out of print, that I started already last year, the year before, and made pretty good progress on it. Didn't get it anywhere near done, but made good progress. So I want to work on that Christmas week. And then I have the 2 kids, the boy and the girl, making snow angels, that I finished the girl, and started the boy just, I mean, I got a couple stitches in. I'm doing them on one piece of fabric. They're in the model picture, it's 2 separate frame pieces, and I'm doing them a little off, a little diagonal to each other on one piece of fabric. And so I got a couple stitches in with where I want to start the boy. And then, so I have those 2 for winter. And then I got a piece of fabric this week. Where is it? Oh. When I was in Las Vegas earlier in the year, I bought Winter Weight Santa. I have loved him always. And when I was at Stitch, New Jersey this summer, one of my viewers was there, and she showed me a picture that I fell in love with of him stitched on a fabric flare fabric. The fabric flare fabric that it was on isn't available anymore, but this one is very close, and I just got this in the mail. So he's not nearly this big, so I won't use a lot of this bottom because I want his white head and shawl and coat and everything to be against this bright blue. He's gorgeous on the printed fabric. So I may start him. So I'm thinking New Year's weekend, whether I designate that the weekend before, the weekend after, probably the weekend after, I may do like a Mirabilia weekend. And I would have 2 starts because, do I really want to start 2 Mirabilias? I really do. They may become my focus pieces for next year, or 2027, since I've already got 2026 to find. So that's kind of where my head's at with my, I'm not a big planner, other than it's this season, so this is what season I'm stitching on right now, kind of thing. But I did really like this year getting the 2 larger pieces completely done, especially the Toledo to Toledo. And I think making these bigger things a focus piece is the only way I will ever get any of them done. So I had started wrapping my head around that. And then I was like, I want to start the Our Lady of the Flag New Year's Day. I would like to finish her next year too for the, what's the quarter, what's the 250 years called? Bicentennial was 200 years. I'm drawing a blank on what next year, is there a name for it? So I would like to finish her next year. It's a lot of stitching. She may have to be a focus piece too. I may have to rethink some of these other focus pieces. If I end up with 20 things, then they're not exactly focus pieces, are they? It's just the hot mess that I've got in progress right now. I'm going to have to keep it narrowed down and rein myself in. So we'll see what I end up with. I may be rethinking these New Year's plans. Although Our Lady of the Flag, that one definitely will get started New Year's. That's my definite plan for that one. I'm rethinking whether she will get done next year, but we'll see. So that is everything that's going on. I think, so 2 weeks from now would be Black Friday, and my family can't figure out where they're going to do Thanksgiving, or have not decided yet. I've told them, just tell me if I'm hosting or where I need to be, and I'm good. You guys figure it out. I'm the only one with the single, so everybody else is married and has in-laws and all those kinds of things. So I just tell them, just let me know when and where. Even if it's here and I'm cooking, I'm fine with that too. I don't mind hosting. Just tell me if that's what you want to have happen. But anyway, there's a lot going on that weekend. I know you will all have a lot going on that weekend too. I don't know how much stitching I'm going to get done between now and then. This weekend, I've got some things to do tomorrow. Sunday, I work. Next weekend is my hand stitch weekend. And I won't get as much stitching done as what that sounds like I should. Because we'll do some running around too, I'm sure. And so and then if I have to host, I'm going to have to prep for Thanksgiving. So I don't know how much stitching I'm going to get done. I have a thought for a video that I might get done before then, so that I do have one 2 weeks from now. I don't like to break my rhythm. I'm always afraid, not afraid, that's the wrong word. I know there's a risk that if I skip at all, I won't get back into it. And I do enjoy doing these, and I like hearing from you all, and it does make a good record for me of things that I've worked on and when. I have referred back to my own videos before, going, what the heck was that? When did I do that? Or what fabric was this? Things like that. So I may do a video, or I'm planning a video of my like 10 favorite stitchy supplies for cross stitch, some of which are pretty well known, pretty traditional. A few of them are. Some of them are a little oddball, or they were things that I have from other, I do a lot of crafty things, and I have for my whole life. And so they're things that were originally for another purpose that I now use for cross stitch. So I thought I would do a video like that. It would be good timing for anyone getting ready for Black Friday shopping or putting together their own Christmas list. And then I won't have pressure on myself stressing about I don't have anything stitched to put together a floss tube. So I think that's probably what's going to come out on Black Friday. And then 2 weeks after that, by then I should have a ton of stitching done. I'm off work the week after Thanksgiving, so I'm going to have like a week and a half off work there. I do all my Christmas prep in that week, so it's all my decorating, all of my shopping, all of my wrapping, getting my Christmas cards done. So there's a lot happening that week other than stitching, but I'll have a lot of stitching time in there too. And no traveling or trips, which is what really disrupts my stitchy time. So that's the upcoming floss tube plans. And then at the end of the year, I'll be doing my whip parade and probably my FFO parade. I think I'll do that one again too. That gives me another break from there's some weeks where it will be bad for me for filming just because of holiday things going on. And I can do like an FFO parade in advance. I can't even do that with the whip parade. But so that's my plans for the rest of this year and for New Year's weekend potentially, and for some focus pieces for next year. Love to know what you all are stitching on. Are you a focus piece? Are you a single piece stitcher? Do you have a bajillion whips like me? I'm not as bad as lots of people, so I don't feel too bad about it. And if you have a lot of whips, do you keep a focus piece, or how do you do your rotation? I'm curious. I always like hearing other floss tubers to talk about that. I know what a lot of them like. Here's their thing. Like Lori from What's Upon a Stitch will tell you she stitches on something for 2 days, then she moves on to the next thing. So 2 days, next, 2 days, next. Yeah, so anyway, I won't be back before Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Had to think about it for a minute there, but I did just talk about my next video being Black Friday. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and happy stitching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!